Tonight, we're looking at a nation under attack, on two fronts separated by 7,000 miles. It's one single story about a superstorm outbreak, and you need to see how it all connects. I mean, it looked like a war zone. That's not a line from a movie. Those are the words of Barry Spickler, standing in what was left of his town in Ottawa, Kansas. And he wasn't exaggerating, not one bit. This is the ground truth of what happens when the sky just falls apart. It all kicked off on a Monday night. For the people of Ottawa, Kansas, it was just a normal evening that turned into a fight for survival in a matter of minutes. Imagine this. You're at a community meeting, like Eileen Spickler was, and then the sky just changes. Suddenly, a tornado is right on top of you, and that meeting room becomes the only thing between you and a direct hit. And this wasn't some isolated funnel cloud. The destruction was immense. Just a few miles away, in Miami County, the same storm system chewed a path through the landscape. The early estimate from the undersheriff? About 50 homes. 50 families' lives just torn apart. And behind every single one of those numbers is a real person, like Kathy Watts from Hillsdale. Her words just hit you right in the gut. I lost everything. Like, I have no home, I have nowhere to go. Her roof, her barn, her trailer, just gone. All she was left with was the terrifying reality of having to start her entire life over from scratch. But here's where the story gets so much bigger. The horror unfolding in Kansas, as awful as it was, wasn't happening in a vacuum. When you zoom out, you realize this wasn't just a local storm. It was one front line in a huge atmospheric war raging across the entire country. This scale here is just staggering. At the exact same time Kansas was getting hammered, Missouri was bracing for the same system. Tornadoes were literally touching down in Minnesota. All across Wisconsin, tornado watches were going off. And down in Texas, they were being warned about baseball-sized hail and flash floods. The entire central part of the country was under siege. And we're not talking about your average thunderstorm warning here. Officials were activating sirens for a special high-level alert, a destructive thunderstorm warning. That's a specific tag from the National Weather Service. It means they're expecting winds over 80 miles an hour, and yes, baseball-sized hail. This was the real deal. Okay, so you have total chaos erupting in the American heartland. But this is where the story takes an unbelievable turn. While all of that was happening, an even bigger, more powerful threat was spinning up on the other side of the world. Think about that. As Americans were huddling in their basements, the single strongest storm on planet Earth was forming 7,000 miles away over the Pacific. It has a name, Super Typhoon Sinlaku. And this thing wasn't just a storm, it was a full-blown Category 5 monster. At its peak, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center clocked its sustained winds at a terrifying 185 miles per hour. Absolutely incredible. And this planetary beast wasn't just spinning out in the middle of the ocean. It had a target: American soil. It was bearing down on the U.S. territories of Guam, Saipan, and Tinian, home to tens of thousands of American citizens, and some really critical U.S. military bases. Now, to really understand how massive Sinlaku was, you have to look at the history books. In more than 70 years of keeping records, only one other typhoon this strong has ever formed this early in the year. We are talking about a historic, incredibly rare, and powerful event. So let's just pause for a second. We have a violent tornado outbreak in the Midwest, and we have a historic super typhoon in the Pacific. It's so easy to look at these as two separate, just really unlucky events. But what the science is telling us is that they're not separate at all. They're connected. And that brings us to the most important point of all of this. The question we really have to ask isn't just what happened, it's why is this happening? Why are we seeing this kind of violent, widespread, and historic weather all at once? Well, the answer is in the data. Take a look at this chart from Yale Climate Connections. It shows the number of Category 5 storms, the most powerful storms on the planet, globally since we've had good satellite data. The trend is it's undeniable. It's going up. The most powerful storms are happening more often. The science on this is really clear. As Yale Climate Connections puts it, climate change is expected to increase the proportion of these storms that reach that catastrophic Category 4 and 5 strength. It's basically supercharging the atmosphere, making the conditions perfect for more of these monster storms. So what does this all mean? It means that the devastation in a small town in Kansas and the formation of a monster typhoon in the Pacific are actually two sides of the same coin. They're symptoms of a planet that is experiencing more frequent and more intense weather extremes. So let's just recap the journey we just took. We started in a single town with one tornado, we zoomed out to a whole region on high alert, then we jumped across the entire planet to a massive threat, and finally we connected it all to a global trend that's backed by decades of data. Each step gives us a clearer and frankly a much more sobering picture of what's going on. The science is telling us what's happening. The data is showing us the trend. From the heartland of America to the islands in the Pacific, the evidence is everywhere. So the only real question left for us to answer is our infrastructure, are our communities, are we ready for what's coming next?